She's a world-class coach. She's an international educator. She's a best-selling author. She's from Sydney, Australia. She's a part of Powerful Female Immigrant. She's right here today with us. Lorraine Chai, welcome to Michael D. Show.
Great pleasure to be here.
Well, I'm very excited and fascinated about your story. You have a very eclectic career, from being a professional musician and educator now, and running a nonprofit, and 25 books. Tell us a little bit about your journey and what brings you here.
Wow. How can I summarize that? Initially, I'm originally from Malaysia, so I grew up in Malaysia. But I am a pure Chinese, fourth generation, born in Malaysia. And it's been an absolutely interesting journey, should I say. The way that I look at it is everybody's life is like a movie, hence why the title of my chapter. And it's been a very interesting journey in that sense, because initially I grew up as a extreme introvert, like you would not hear a word out of me, to someone growing out of their shell, to transforming into an educator where I communicate with kids and teachers, as well as writing my own books. So, I'm self-published, where I've written more than 20 books, and they're all international. So they're available in Southeast Asia, in Australia, in the UK, Europe, and also in the United States. So it's been an absolutely interesting journey, and I love to share my story, because I grew from this timid little girl to this person at the moment that's on stage talking to you, and you would not see me speak to anyone, maybe backing to 10 years ago. So it's a growth that I had to follow through, and with the nonprofit, it was something that I've always wanted to do. So I've always wanted to help people. I've always wanted to help the next generation of people. And this year I decided, why wait? We can do it now. And I did that. I started my nonprofit project in Nepal, where we brought a whole bunch of donated instruments, resources, my books, and we started a string program there, where my company is sponsored to train the teachers to continue on with the program by themselves independently. So I could go on and on, but yeah, that's a summary of what.
Well, how did that feel though? You landed in Nepal, you have all these instruments. A few hours later, all the kids are playing this big orchestra. First of all, I know there's a story behind getting all the instruments into Nepal. That had to be amazing.
Okay, so this story I got to share.
Okay.
This story is, in Nepal, it's a third world country, right?
Right.
And all these people are there's no way you're going to get the instruments there. There's no way it's going to go through the borders. And I thought to myself, no. I envision the whole situation where these kids are going to be performing together. These kids are going to be loving it. It's going to be life-changing for them. And the instruments are going to be there before I landed. And funny thing is, the instruments arrived the day before I landed. And that was pretty amazing, because everyone else was like, no, it's not going to happen. I was like, no, you can leave that to yourself. But in my vision, I could see the kids playing, and that's going to happen, when I'm there. And it did. So the kids love it. The whole school actually wanted to learn, and I'm like, I can't. I only got 15 instruments.
That's kind of life-changing for a kid, right, in a third world country that's never played some of these instruments or heard this music, to be a part of something bigger than themselves.
Absolutely. And even the teachers wanted to learn,
Wow.
They've never seen the instrument before, and they're like, oh, Miss Lorraine, can you come back? We want you to teach us. It's an absolute amazing experience.
Now, music's been your life, and like you said, your chapter title is Stuck in an Inescapable Movie. You use music to escape, but at what point did you realize it was going to be your profession? It's how you're going to make your living.
Initially, music wasn't my choice. It was just something that I was good at, and I used that. Initially, I wanted to be a veterinarian, so I went through my studies, but the great thing is my mom's a musician. So with my mom, I got to learn from her. I watched her teach, and that was easy for me. Music was easy. Learning music was easy. And yes, music was my escape pod, because, in the middle of the night, I would just creep out of my bedroom, start writing music.
Oh, wow.
I would play secretly in my dad's office, because we've got pianos everywhere. And it was just a place where I could express myself without being judged.
Yeah.
I could just release all this energy and emotions that I have built up within me without someone going, you shouldn't be feeling that way, you should toughen up.
Now, how many instruments do you play?
I could go on a whole list, but I shall tell you. So I can play the piano, the violin, the clarinet, and I do have a diploma in classical singing. So it's like I'm a one-band woman. As my friends would
It's very
say.
exciting. You realized something early on, though, that because of repetitive motion, and I didn't realize this till you told me, that a lot of professional musicians find themselves in a situation where they're getting arthritis and they need to think about another source of income. You actually transferred that into educating students. When did that come? Did that come pretty early for you, and was that a good decision, and how is that working out for you?
So this is a part that not many people know. The initial plan was to come to the US, actually, and to do music. But through my journey in studying, I developed this pain in the wrist. And I didn't realize that I could see all these musicians where they had braces, and I'm like, there's something wrong. So a lot of educators or music educators tend to miss out that whole concept of understanding the body, where you can work according to how your body works. And that's what I started learning. I started learning different teaching methods, different ways of how we can play the instruments without without hurting yourself. But through that, that's why I did my diploma in singing. But with the diploma in singing, I developed a voice problem. And I thought, okay, what's next? Education.
Yeah.
Then I can teach the kids the right way without them hurting themselves.
That's
so that
good.
came down to that path of teaching.
That's good. Now, you talk about some very sensitive subjects in your chapter title. You talk about being stalked by fear. You talk about overcoming sexual assault. You talk about trauma. And then you go into your coaching program for women, which you're really passionate about. I want to dive into this. How hard was it for you after being sexually assaulted to overcome that? And what do you find with women that have been through that as well?
So that's a very good question, because that's what people always ask me when they hear my story. And the thing is, we are not aware that 1 in every 5 women are actually sexually assaulted one way or another, physically, emotionally, mentally, and there's so many different ways you can assault someone, right? And because we grew up in our culture, and every culture, I think it's quite similar in that sense, we think it's a sign of weakness when we admit, yes, I was assaulted. Because we've got people saying, oh, just snap out of it, or it's your fault, that's why that happened. And through my journey, I thought, I went through a path where I was in depression.
Yeah.
And I admit that I was in a state of depression, which I know some people would. But the level of depression varies. Like, some people have very deep depression, which I've gone through before. Some people are just going through a phase of depression, but it's more of how you bounce back. And I used to live in a life of where I saw the world being glum and everything seemed gray, and it was such a negative energy. And I thought, there's a reason why I'm alive. God kept me here for a reason. What is that reason? So I started listening to myself. I started understanding myself. And the thing was, I started loving myself. So I started listening, I started loving myself. And if I'm single at age 30 plus, then it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's meant to be.
Yeah.
I'm meant to see the world. I'm meant to feel the world.
Yeah.
And the right person is going to be there if he's ready, if I'm ready.
Yeah.
And that's how I look at life.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. It's a little easier to fly across the oceans and less baggage, right?
True, that too.
There you go.
True
There you go. What would you say to a woman watching right now, and you wanted to put some confidence in her, give her some hope, that's been through a tough time like that? What would you say to her right now?
So a funny thing happened was last week I was in Austin, and I met up with a couple of women, right? And they were telling me about why they were out. They were out because they broke up with their partner. It was an abusive partner. And at the same time, they were thinking about starting a company. I was like, okay. So they were in this whole state where it's already been a week since the breakup, and I feel really bad. But I feel like, before he even said anything, I said, you feel like going back because that's where you're comfortable, right? Because you feel like going back, but when you're back, you feel like breaking off again.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a cycle. When are you going to break that cycle? Whether or not it's the same person or somebody else. The thing is, you need to respect yourself as a person first before you can attract the right people.
Yeah.
But the thing is also, you need to learn to love yourself. If you don't love yourself, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get someone that's going to hurt you consistently.
Yeah.
So that's what I told.
Love yourself.
Yeah. So I told the girl, I said, you're worth so much more. If you broke up, there's a reason why you broke up, and you're worth so much more. Let's just live life.
Wow. So, I mean, your stalker situation was so bad. I mean, you could write a whole book on that, and we won't go into all that. But I love what you said about love yourself. And I think some people jump back into a relationship too quickly where they don't really figure out who they are and what they want. And so you're really in this space of empowering not only yourself, you're empowering other women. Tell me a little bit about the coaching that you do for women, and what offerings do you have for them when they come to you?
All right, so with the coaching, coaching is, I love coaching. Don't get me wrong, I love coaching. People ask me why I want to coach. It's like every single woman, I see myself in them. There's always a part of them that I see. And the thing is, I see potential everywhere. I always tell people this, everywhere I go, every person that I see potential. Whether or not they see it, it's up to them. It's more of them figuring it out, finding it. And yeah, for me, it's like, you know, when you have a scab, you're like, you need to scratch it. I'm like, I gotta scratch this thing on that person because they've got so much potential. There's so much that they can do in their life, you know, like that person I met at the bar, they're like, I want to start a business. I'm like, why don't you start a business? The next time I see you, I want, you know, you're gonna start a business and you're gonna tell me how great it is. You're gonna be living your life. You're gonna be moving from Austin to Dallas because they wanted to move to Dallas. Yeah, so that's the way I look at it. And it's more of, if you talk to all these successful people, they're like, it's living or being in a comfortable situation because that's how you grow. And that was me because I was too comfortable and things just never changed. So let's just be uncomfortable. Let's be on stage. You know, from an introverted person, let's just throw myself on stage and start speaking.